The private casino floor was a den of calculated danger. For Mia Johnson, it was hostile territory. She gripped her serving tray like a shield, her red shirt and black vest marking her as invisible a shadow meant to pour drinks and disappear. The pay was triple her diner wage, and her brother's debt wasn't going to pay itself. But weaving between tables where dangerous men played poker with briefcases of cash, Mia felt less like an employee and more like prey in a wolf's den. Across the room, Seonu Park felt a different kind of entrapment. Kazuo Yamamoto, a calculating Yakuza boss, gestured toward a young woman in traditional dress. "She is perfect for you, Parksy," Yamamoto said, his smile sharp as a knife. "My daughter, our families united your territory, my resources, time to secure your legacy." Seonu's jaw tightened. Since his father's assassination, these marriage proposals had become weapons disguised as business. His dark eyes scanned the room for escape, and then they locked on hers. He saw a woman looking just as trapped as he felt. Beautiful, in an understated way, with intelligent eyes filled with fear and quiet defiance eyes that refused to look down even in a room designed to make people like her invisible. A drunk Yakuza lieutenant grabbed her wrist. "Hey, sweetheart," he slurred. "Forget the drinks. Come sit on my lap. I tip well for personal service." The insult drew laughter from nearby tables. Mia's knuckles went white around her tray, but she was about to retreat with whatever dignity remained. In that instant, Seonu saw his escape. He excused himself from Yamamoto and crossed the floor with lethal grace. Conversations quieted. Men moved aside. He stopped beside Mia, his presence making the lieutenant's grip falter. Ignoring the Yakuza completely, he leaned close, his voice a low whisper in accented English. "Pretend to be my wife." Mia stared. It was Seonu Park, the youngest Korean mafia boss in the city. "What?" she breathed. "Play along," he murmured, his dark eyes intense. "I will make it worth your while." Before she could protest, he removed the tray from her hands and took her hand, his grip warm, possessive. He turned to face Yamamoto, pulling Mia to his side. "Yamamoto-san," he said in Korean, then English. "I apologize for the deception, but I have been keeping my marriage private for security. Meet my wife, Mia Park." Dangerous silence fell. The lieutenant paled. Yamamoto's smile froze. Seonu lifted her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles, his eyes never leaving hers. "Yobo," he said softly, then in English, "I believe they are bringing champagne. Shall we?" For the rest of the evening, they were a convincing fiction. His hand stayed at the small of her back, possessive protection that made her hyper-aware of every touch. He whispered warnings about which men to avoid, his breath warm against her skin. The chemistry between them crackled like a live wire. When it ended, he escorted her to a private elevator. The doors closed. "You were convincing," he said, his voice cool again, though his eyes still held intensity. "You're not a bad actor yourself," Mia replied, heart pounding. He withdrew a black business card with gold Korean characters. "I will contact you tomorrow. We have business to discuss." The doors opened to the parking garage. A black Mercedes waited, engine running. "Your brother's debt," Seonu added quietly, watching her. "I know about it. I know everything. We will talk." He stepped into the car and disappeared into the night, leaving her in the concrete garage, his card burning in her hand like a dangerous promise. What had she just walked into? Are you ready to see where this dangerous lie takes them? Before we dive into Chapter 1, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single moment of Seonu and Mia's impossible love story. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens when the blood contract is signed. Let's continue. The text message arrived at 2 a.m. Ming's Diner. 6 a.m. Come alone. Bring nothing. SP. Mia stood outside the shuttered diner in her neighborhood as dawn broke, the neon sign flickering weakly. The place had been closed for months. She tried the door unlocked. Inside, a single booth in the back was illuminated by a pendant lamp. Seonu Park sat there in a black suit, a leather folder before him, looking as out of place as a panther in a pet store. "Sit," he said, not looking up. She slid into the booth. In the harsh light, she could see the faint scar along his jaw, the controlled intensity in his eyes. "Your brother, Marcus Johnson, owes $73,000 to men who work for my rival," Seonu began, his accented English precise. "They will collect in 72 hours. I have seen what they do to families when someone cannot pay. It is not quick." Mia's stomach dropped. "How do you— I know everything about you." He slid a photograph across the table. Her brother, leaving his apartment. "The men he owes are not simple loan sharks. They are Bratva, Russian mafia using your brother to map my territory. He is bait, Miss Johnson, and you are collateral. What do you want?" "A solution that benefits us both." He opened the folder, revealing dense Korean and English text. "1 year. You will be my wife in every public capacity. You will attend events, live in my home, convince my enemies and allies that our marriage is real. In exchange, your brother's debt disappears tonight. 73,000 eliminated. More importantly, permanent protection for both of you." It was everything she'd been praying for. "Why me?" "Because you are desperate enough to agree and intelligent enough to survive." His eyes met hers. "And because in my world, an American black wife sends a specific message. I do not play by the old rules. I am unpredictable, dangerous." She was a strategy, a weapon. "What's the catch?" His expression didn't change. Article 7. He turned to a page marked with a red tab. She read the English translation. Emotional attachment termination clause. "If either of us develops genuine romantic feelings," Seonu explained, his voice clinical, "we must confess immediately. Upon confession, the contract terminates instantly. All protection ends. Your brother's debt returns with interest. And in my world, Miss Johnson, breaking a blood contract has consequences beyond money." Mia's breath caught. "That's impossible. You're asking me to spend a year playing your wife, but guaranteeing I'll destroy my brother if I feel anything real? I am ensuring neither of us confuses performance with reality. Love is weakness. In my business, weakness is death." He pulled out a small silver knife. "This is how we seal contracts in my family. Blood oath." Through the diner window, Mia saw a black SUV pull up. 2 men got out, looking at the building. Seonu followed her gaze. "They are already watching your brother," he said quietly. "You have until I walk out of this diner to decide. After that, I cannot help you." Mia picked up the knife. She pressed the blade to her palm, watching blood well up. She pressed her bloody palm to the contract, her handprint stark and final. Seonu did the same, his blood mixing with hers on the paper. "Welcome to my world, Mrs. Park." He made a quick call in Korean, then looked at her. "Your brother will be moved to a safe house within the hour. The Russians will receive payment tonight. They will believe he borrowed from a different source. He will be watched, but he will be safe." Relief flooded through her. Then his expression shifted. "But understand this, Yamamoto saw us together tonight. He will test whether our marriage is real. The moment he suspects deception, he will strike. Your performance must be perfect." Seonu's penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of a glass tower that looked like it could cut the sky. Armed men in suits nodded as they entered. No smiles, no welcomes. "Your floor," Seonu said, stopping at the elevator panel. 27th. Mine is 29th. The 28th floor is guards only. You do not go there. You do not come to my floor. Clear?" "Crystal," Mia replied, exhaustion making her voice flat. Her floor was pristine, cold, expensive. Everything white and chrome. A beautiful prison. "Tomorrow night," Seonu said from the doorway, "there is a gathering. My organization's inner circle. You will be introduced as my wife. Wear the dress in your closet. Do not embarrass me." The door closed. She was alone. The dress was traditional Korean, a modified hanbok in deep burgundy and gold, beautiful and completely foreign. When she put it on the next evening, she barely recognized herself. The gathering was in a private restaurant's basement, no signs, no windows, just a steel door and men with guns. Inside, 50 people sat at low tables. Every eye turned to her as they entered. The silence was crushing. Sionu's hand found the small of her back, warm through the fabric. "Smile," he whispered in English. "Like you belong here." She smiled. It felt like showing teeth to wolves. He introduced her in Korean. She caught her name, heard Miguk Saram, American person, and saw the reactions. Shock, disapproval, barely concealed disgust. An older woman in expensive silk whispered something that made others laugh. They sat. Seonu poured her tea, his movements precise. Under the table, his knee pressed against hers, constant contact, claiming her. A man across the table spoke in English, clearly meant to cut. "So, Parksy brings a diverse addition to our family. Tell me, Mrs. Park, do you even know what we do? Or are you just here for the money?" The table went silent. Seonu's hand on his glass stopped moving. "I know enough," Mia replied, keeping her voice steady. "To understand that respect isn't about what you look like. It's about what you're willing to protect," the man sneered. Pretty words from Seonu moved. He grabbed the man's wrist, slamming it onto the table. The sound of bone cracking was sickeningly loud. "She is my wife," Seonu said in Korean, then English, his voice deadly calm. "You will address her with respect, or I will remove your tongue before your hand heals. Am I clear, Dongwoo?" The man nodded, face white with pain. Seonu released him, turned to Mia, and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture so tender it seemed impossible from the same hand that had just broken bone. "Are you all right, Yobo?" he asked softly. "Yes," she whispered, and something in his eyes held hers longer than necessary. For the rest of the evening, his touches continued adjusting her sleeve, refilling her glass, his thumb brushing her wrist. Each touch professional, each touch burning. She caught him watching her when he thought she wasn't looking, something almost like curiosity in his expression. When they finally left, he was silent in the car, but his hand found hers in the darkness, squeezed once reassurance or something more. She couldn't tell. At the penthouse, he walked her to her floor. "You did well tonight," he said. "Better than I expected. Thank you for—" "Do not thank me." His jaw tightened. "I defended my investment. That is all." But his eyes said something different. As she entered her apartment, her phone buzzed. An email with no sender name. She opened it. Financial documents. Shell companies. Money transfers. Her breath caught as she recognized one name. Park Seonu. The other name made her blood run cold. Kazuo Yamamoto. The email contained evidence of secret business deals between Seonu and the man he'd publicly rejected. Transactions dated from the past 6 months. A note at the bottom in English. "Your husband is a liar. He's been in business with Yamamoto all along. Your marriage is just a cover for their real alliance. Don't believe me? Ask him about the Hong Kong shipment. A friend. Was everything a lie? Was she just a pawn in a larger game she didn't understand?" Mia confronted him the next morning, storming into his office without knocking. She threw her phone on his desk, the damning documents displayed. "Explain this, now." Seonu looked at the screen, his expression unreadable. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. A short, bitter sound. "You received this today?" "Yes." "Then Lieutenant Kim is even more desperate than I thought." He turned his computer screen toward her, showing identical documents with additional pages. "These are partially real transactions from 2 years ago, before Yamamoto killed my father. Someone has doctored them, changed dates, added false entries. A skilled forgery meant to destroy trust." He pulled up another file. "This is the real Hong Kong shipment weapons intercepted by my men, destined for Yamamoto's operations. I destroyed it 3 weeks ago. Cost him millions." Mia's anger faltered. "Who's Lieutenant Kim?" "My father's most trusted man. After I took over, I modernized operations, changed old alliances. Kim believes I am dishonoring my father's memory. Seonu's voice was cold. He has been trying to undermine me for months. This forgery is his latest attempt. Why would he send it to me? To make you doubt me. To make you leave. To prove that bringing in an outsider, especially you, was a mistake. He stood, moving to the window. He is not wrong about the risk. You are my greatest vulnerability now. I'm sorry. You should have questioned me. He turned to face her. That shows intelligence. In this world, trust is earned, not given. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Mia asked quietly, "What happens to Kim?" "That depends on what he does next." Seonu's expression was unreadable. If he accepts that his loyalty is to the organization, not the past, he stays. If he continues... He didn't finish. "You'd kill him?" "I would do what is necessary to protect what is mine." His eyes held hers, "Including you." The intensity in those 3 words made her breath catch. "There is something else," Seonu said, his tone shifting. "If Kim is willing to use manipulation, he may try more direct methods. You need to know how to defend yourself. I can't fight like your men." "Not fight. Survive long enough for help to arrive." He checked his watch. "We start training today. 1 hour, every day, non-negotiable." "Seonu, I'm not a..." "You are my wife. That makes you a target." His voice was firm. "I will not lose you to my own negligence. I will not lose you. I will not lose my investment. You." That evening, in the penthouse gym, Seonu taught her basic defensive moves: how to break a grip, where to strike to cause maximum pain, how to create distance and run. His hands on her body were professional, instructive. But when he demonstrated a chokehold defense, pulling her against his chest, both of them froze, her back pressed against him, his arms around her, his breath on her neck. "Like this," he said, his voice rougher than usual. "You drop your weight, turn into them, strike upward," she demonstrated. Her elbow connected with his ribs gently, as instructed. But she didn't step away. Neither did he. "Mia." Her name was barely a whisper. She turned in his arms. They were inches apart, both breathing hard from more than exertion. His phone shattered the moment. He stepped back, answered curtly in Korean, his expression darkening with each word. "What is it?" she asked when he hung up. "Kim has disappeared. So have 3 of my men loyal to him." Seonu's voice was ice. "And they have taken something that could destroy everything I have built." "What did they take?" "Financial records. Real ones. Evidence of every operation, every transaction, every alliance for the past 5 years. He looked at her, and for the first time, she saw genuine fear in his eyes. "If those reach the wrong hands, law enforcement, rival organizations, the media, it is over. My organization falls. Everyone connected to me becomes a target, including your brother. What do we do?" "We find them before they can make the exchange." He was already moving, pulling out weapons, making calls. "They plan to meet a buyer in 48 hours. I have people tracking them, but Kim knows my methods. He will be careful." Mia's mind raced. "He knows your methods, but he doesn't know mine." Seonu paused. "What do you mean?" "I have a friend, someone I grew up with. She works at the transit authority. If Kim is moving through the city, she might be able to track his movements through traffic cameras, subway footage." Mia pulled out her phone. "It's not your usual surveillance. He won't expect it." Seonu studied her for a long moment. Then slowly, he nodded. "Make the call." Mia's friend came through. Within 18 hours, they had a location, an abandoned factory in the industrial district. Kim was there with his men and a buyer, representatives from a rival Chinese syndicate. The mission was surgical. Seonu went in with a small team while Mia monitored from a van outside, coordinating with her friend to track any escapees through city cameras. When Kim tried to run, Mia saw him on the traffic cam feed. "Black sedan, heading east on Hanover Street," she reported. Seonu's men intercepted him 2 blocks away. They recovered the files. Kim and his men were detained. The Chinese buyers left empty-handed with a message. The Parks do not forgive betrayal. In the aftermath, Seonu found Mia still in the van, exhausted but wired on adrenaline. "You did well," he said quietly. "Your thinking saved my organization. Our organization." She corrected before she could stop herself. Something flickered in his eyes. "Yes, our organization." The moment stretched. He reached out, almost hesitantly, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. His hand lingered on her cheek. Seonu. His phone rang. He answered, listened, then cursed in Korean. "What now?" "The elders in Seoul. They have heard about Kim's betrayal, about the internal threats. They are questioning my leadership, suggesting I am too young, too reckless." He looked exhausted. "They demand we come to Seoul, to participate in the traditional ceremonies, to prove our marriage is legitimate, and that I am a worthy leader." "How long?" 5 days. It is not a request. Seoul was beautiful and suffocating. The moment they arrived, Mia was swept into a world of ancient rituals she didn't understand. Seonu's grandmother, a formidable woman with sharp eyes, watched everything. They dressed her in a hanbok of silk and gold, so elaborate she could barely move. Seonu wore traditional Korean attire, and when he saw her, something flickered in his eyes, appreciation quickly masked. The tea ceremony was first. Kneeling across from each other on silk cushions, surrounded by elders, they had to serve each other with perfect grace. His fingers brushed hers as he accepted the cup, and the touch lingered a moment too long. An elder's eyes narrowed. "Closer," the grandmother instructed in Korean, which someone translated. "You are married. Show intimacy." Seonu shifted forward, his knee pressing against hers. He wiped a drop of tea from her lip with his thumb, the gesture tender and possessive. His eyes held hers, and she forgot they had an audience. The days blurred together walking through Gyeongbokgung Palace where he had to hold her hand to guide her through crowds, his fingers laced with hers. A formal dinner where he fed her a piece of fruit, his hand cradling her jaw as she took it from his fingers. Every touch required by tradition, every touch feeling less like performance. Language became a barrier that forced other intimacy. He would lean close to whisper translations, his breath warm against her ear. She would touch his arm to ask silent questions, and his hand would cover hers in response. On the final night, they stood together in the Hanok's main room for the blessing ritual, surrounded by candles and incense. The shaman chanted in ancient Korean, then instructed them to face each other, to hold hands, to lean their foreheads together, a gesture of unity and trust. Seonu's hands found hers, steady now. His forehead pressed to hers, and they breathed the same air. She felt the tension in his body, the war between duty and desire. "Mia," he breathed, her name a confession. The shaman said something, and Seonu's grandmother translated, "Now the groom may kiss his bride to seal the blessing." Neither of them moved. The air between their lips was electric, impossible. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. "We can't," he whispered, but he leaned closer anyway. "I know," she replied, but she tilted her face up, a hair's breadth apart. One more second and... His grandmother's voice cut through the moment, speaking rapid Korean. Seonu pulled back abruptly, his expression unreadable. "What did she say?" Mia asked. "Breathless," she said. He looked shaken. "She said she sees what my father felt for his first love, and that I should not make his mistake." Before Mia could ask what that meant, the ceremony ended. The elders seemed satisfied. They had passed the test, but as they returned to their room that night, both knew something had changed. The line between performance and reality had become impossible to see. They returned from Seoul to deceptive peace. Marcus called regularly from his safe house, thriving in online college courses. The organization was stable. Yamamoto had been quiet. Too quiet. "I don't trust it," Seonu said one evening, studying surveillance reports. Yamamoto would not simply accept defeat. He was right. Lieutenant Kim, facing execution for his betrayal, made one final desperate move. He gave Yamamoto everything's security schedules, safe house locations, the names of everyone in Seonu's network, including where to find Marcus and Seonu's grandmother. The call came at 3 a.m., Seonu's second-in-command, voice tight with urgency. "Boss, we have a problem. The safe house was hit. They took both of them." Seonu's face went blank. The expression Mia had learned meant he was at his most dangerous. Casualties? 4 of our men. They knew exactly when to strike, exactly where the weak points were. Kim. The name was a curse. Within an hour, they had confirmation. Yamamoto had Marcus and Seonu's grandmother in a warehouse in the harbor district. The message was simple. You and your wife. Alone. Unarmed. 2 hours. Or they die. It's a trap, Mia said, her voice shaking. Of course it is. Seonu was already arming himself. That does not change what I must do. We can't just walk in there. I will not walk in. I will do what I have always done, adapt. He made a series of calls in Korean, then turned to her. My men will be positioned nearby. The moment there is an opening, they will strike. But I need to get inside first. Need to confirm the hostages are there and alive. Then I'm going with you. No. Yes. Mia's voice was firm. He asked for both of us. If I don't show, he'll know something's wrong. I'm your wife, remember. I'm part of this. Seonu looked at her for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, he nodded. You stay behind me. The moment shooting starts, you run. Do you understand? I understand. They arrived at the warehouse as dawn broke. It was a trap, obviously, but Yamamoto had underestimated one thing. Seonu had been planning for this. The warehouse was empty except for a single table. Behind it stood Yamamoto, flanked by armed men. Marcus and Seonu's grandmother were tied to chairs, frightened but alive. Park Si, Yamamoto said with a cold smile. So predictable. You come for hostages like your father did, and like your father, you will. The explosion rocked the building. Smoke bombs Seonu had arranged went off simultaneously. In the chaos, his hidden team poured in. The firefight was brutal, precise, but in the confusion, one of Yamamoto's men panicked. Trigger Happy fired wildly. Mia saw the muzzle flash, saw where the barrel was aimed, saw Seonu, focused on Yamamoto, unaware. She didn't think. She launched herself forward, shoving Seonu aside. The bullet meant for his chest tore through her shoulder instead. The pain was blinding. She hit the ground, blood spreading fast. Seonu's face appeared above hers, and for the first time since she'd met him, she saw his careful control shatter completely. No, no, no. His hands pressed against the wound, shaking. Mia, stay with me. Do you hear me? Stay with me. The firefight continued around them, but he didn't move, didn't fight. He just held her, his usual cold precision replaced by pure, raw terror. You're okay, she whispered, trying to smile. I got you out. You fool, he choked out. You beautiful, idiotic fool. Why would you? His men ended it quickly. Yamamoto was captured. The hostages were freed. Kim was found and executed on the spot. But Seonu only had eyes for Mia. Hours later, in a private medical room, Mia woke to find Seonu sitting beside her bed, still covered in her blood, his head in his hands. You're still here, she murmured. He looked up, and she saw at every wall, every defense, every carefully constructed barrier completely demolished. Raw emotion poured from him like an open wound. Why did you do that? His voice broke. You could have died. You would have died. I am not worth your life. The words exploded from him. I am a killer, Mia. I have ended lives without hesitation. My world destroyed your peace, put a bullet in your shoulder, endangered your brother. And you. He moved closer, his hand trembling as it cupped her face. You took a bullet for me, without thinking, without hesitating. Why? You know why. The truth hung between them, terrifying and undeniable. I have tried so hard not to feel this. He breathed, his forehead resting against hers. Every rule I made, every wall I built, you walked through all of it like they were paper, and I am terrified. Me too. His hand slid into her hair. His lips hovered over hers, and this time there was no ritual, no audience, no excuse. Just two people who'd fought against this moment and lost. He kissed her. Desperate, fierce, real, a kiss that tasted like blood and fear and something too powerful to name. Her good arm wrapped around his neck, pulling him closer, and he groaned against her mouth like a man surrendering to the inevitable. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, the reality crashed over them. Article 7, she whispered. I know. His expression was devastated. I broke it. The contract ends. Everything we fought for. Wait. Mia pulled back enough to look him in the eyes. When did you break it? Just now, when I kissed you. Are you sure? She held his gaze. Because I've been in breach for weeks. Maybe since Seoul. Maybe since the first time you defended me. I've been lying to you, Seonu. Every day, pretending I didn't feel this. He stared at her, his brilliant mind finally encountering a paradox it couldn't solve. So, who broke it first? She asked softly. If we're both guilty, who enforces the penalty? The contract was impossible from the start. You can't control who you love. She touched his face. Your perfect, logical protection turned into a cage. For both of us. For the first time since she'd met him, Seonu Park smiled genuine, unguarded. We are both fools. The biggest. He kissed her again. Softer this time. Like a promise. Dawn broke over the city. Mia's shoulder was healing, but the real recovery was happening in a different way. Seonu stood at his office window, the torn blood contract in his hands. I have spent my entire life building rules to protect myself, and in one moment, you made them all irrelevant. So we build new ones. Mia joined him at the window. Together. He turned to face her. I do not know how to do this without contracts, without clear terms. Then let's make it simple. She took his hand. No more separate floors. No more emotional distance. No more pretending. We try this, really try, and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, then at least we'll know we were honest. She squeezed his hand. That's more than your father had. He pulled her close, careful of her injured shoulder. My grandmother told me something in Seoul about my father and a woman he loved before my mother, an American journalist. He chose duty over her, married for politics, and spent his life regretting it. She wanted you to know you have a choice. I made my choice the moment you took that bullet. He kissed her forehead. Everything else is just details. Over the next weeks, they rebuilt. Marcus moved into a new apartment with real security, enrolled in college full-time. Seonu's grandmother recovered, watching their relationship with knowing eyes and quiet approval. Yamamoto was dealt with through official channels, evidence of his crimes anonymously provided to law enforcement. He would spend his life in prison, powerless. Kim's betrayal had revealed weaknesses in the organization. Seonu restructured, brought in new blood, modernized systems. And through it all, Mia was there not as decoration, but as partner. She used her intelligence to spot patterns Seonu's men missed. Her outsider perspective revealed blind spots in their security. Her community connections opened doors that violence couldn't. You were right, Seonu told her one evening, about using my resources differently. Mia had convinced him to fund a community center in her old neighborhood job training, after-school programs, alternatives to gang recruitment. It is good business, he continued. Fewer desperate people means less recruitment opportunity for rivals. But it is also. He searched for the word. Good. Just good. You're allowed to do things because they're right, she said softly. Not everything has to be strategy. With you, I am learning that. They were learning to be a real couple. Learning each other's routines, preferences, quirks. Learning to argue and compromise. Learning that love wasn't the weakness Seonu feared, it was foundation. One evening, Seonu called his key lieutenants together. Mia sat beside him an equal, not an accessory. The past months have shown us that the old ways have vulnerabilities. He began in Korean, which one lieutenant quietly translated for Mia. We have been reactive, waiting for threats. That ends now. He outlined a new approach: information networks, legitimate business fronts, political connections, power through influence, not just violence. Some of you may think this makes us weak, Seonu continued. Let me be clear. We will still defend what is ours, but we will be smarter about it. We will be better. After the meeting, his second-in-command lingered. Boss, there's something you should know. We've been hearing chatter. Someone has been asking questions about our operations, about you and Mrs. Park, about the contract. Who? We don't know yet, but whoever it is has resources. They knew details about Article 7 that were supposed to be private. Seonu's expression hardened. Find out. Use every resource we have. After the man left, Mia asked, You think someone is planning something? In this world, someone is always planning something. He pulled her close. But let them plan. We survived Yamamoto. We survived internal betrayal. Whatever comes next, we will survive together. Together, she agreed. But that night, as Seonu worked late, Mia received an email. No sender, just an attachment. Photos. Of her and Seonu at their blood contract signing. Of them in Seoul. Of the moment she took the bullet. And a message. Article 7 was clever. But what if the contract was never about love? What if it was about something much bigger? You've been playing the wrong game. A-Y. A-Y. The initials made her blood run cold. Akira Yamamoto, Kazuo's brother. And unlike his imprisoned sibling, Akira had always been the smart one. The next 48 hours were a chess game. Akira Yamamoto didn't kidnap anyone. He didn't need to. His weapon was information, and he wielded it like a scalpel. First, anonymous tips to law enforcement about Seonu's operations. Vague enough to avoid prosecution, specific enough to trigger investigations. Legitimate businesses were suddenly facing audits. Bank accounts frozen pending review. Second, leaks to the media. Sources say pieces about organized crime, money laundering. No names mentioned, but the details made it clear who they meant. Third, whispers within the organization itself. Seeds of doubt. Park is distracted by his American wife. Park has gone soft. Maybe it's time for new leadership. He is trying to dismantle us without firing a shot, Seonu said grimly, reading the latest report. It is actually brilliant, so we fight back the same way, Mia said. Information for information. They worked together, using Mia's connections to counter the media narrative. Community leaders who'd benefited from Seonu's new programs spoke up. Business partners provided character references. The community center was featured in local news as a positive story. Meanwhile, Seonu's people traced Akira's information sources, finding and neutralizing them one by one. But Akira had one final move. He sent a package to Seonu's office. Inside, the original blood contract, somehow stolen from Seonu's secure safe, and a note. This document proves your marriage was a business arrangement. If it goes public, every alliance you've built on the legitimacy of your relationship crumbles. Your wife becomes a fraud. You become a liar. Your enemies will descend like wolves. I'll destroy this evidence on one condition. Your wife leaves. Permanently. She disappears from your life, and I walk away. She stays, and tomorrow morning this contract is on the front page of every newspaper in the city. You have 12 hours to decide. Your power, or your wife. Choose wisely. Mia read the note in silence. He's giving you an out. Prove love doesn't make you weak by choosing power, and proving him right. Seonu set the note down. No, Seonu, be smart about this. I am being smart. His voice was firm. Akira thinks love is my weakness. Let me show him it is my strength. How? By not hiding. He pulled out his phone. If the contract goes public, let it. We will tell the truth ourselves first. Control the narrative. The truth? That, yes. It began as a contract. A strategic arrangement between two desperate people. He took her hands, but that it became real. That sometimes the most unexpected alliances become the strongest bonds. That I would rather face my enemies with you beside me than rule alone. Mia's eyes filled with tears. That's either brilliant or insane. With you, the line is often unclear. Before they could act, Seonu's grandmother arrived unannounced, walking into his office as if she owned it. Helmione! Seonu began, but she held up a hand. Be quiet. I am going to tell you something. She settled into a chair, looking older but no less formidable. You think your father was weak because he loved your mother openly. You are wrong. I know about the journalist, Seonu said quietly. You told me in Seoul. Then you know he made a choice duty over love. It destroyed him. Her voice was steel. But you do not know everything. The night he died, he called me. He said, I chose duty and lost my soul. Don't let Seonu make the same mistake. She stood, placing a weathered hand on his cheek. That girl makes you human. Being human in this world is dangerous, but being a monster is worse. Your father became a ghost long before the bullet. Don't be your father, Seonu. After she left, Seonu sat in silence for a long moment. Then he made his decision. He called a press conference, called together his organization's leaders, called Akira directly. You wanted to expose the contract, Seonu said coldly. I will do it myself, tomorrow. My terms, my narrative, my control. You're bluffing, Akira said. Try me. And when I am done explaining how your brother tried to force me into a marriage alliance, how I used a contract to protect an innocent woman from his violence, how that contract became a real marriage, you will look like the villain you are. Silence, on the other end. You have one chance to walk away, Seonu continued. Take it, or I will bury you like I buried your brother. The line went dead. 24 hours later, Akira Yamamoto left the country. The contract stayed private. The threats ceased, but Seonu went through with part of his plan anyway. He gathered his organization's leaders and made an announcement. My wife and I began our relationship as a contract. I am sure many of you suspected. What you should know is that it is no longer a contract. It is a marriage, a real one, and anyone who has a problem with that can leave now. No one left. That night, back at the penthouse, Mia found Seonu on the balcony, looking out at the city. You didn't have to tell them, she said. Yes, I did. He pulled her close. I am done hiding what matters to me. I am done pretending strength means having no weaknesses. You are my weakness and my strength, and I am tired of apologizing for it. So what now? Now, he smiled. Now I ask you properly. He got down on one knee, producing a simple, elegant ring. Mia Johnson Park, will you marry me? Not because of a contract, not because of protection or strategy, just because I love you and want to spend my life with you. Tears streamed down her face. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He stood, slipped the ring on her finger, and kissed her like they were the only two people in the world. The wedding took 6 months to plan, not because they needed the time, but because they wanted to do it right. The ceremony was held in a garden that somehow felt both Korean and American traditional stone pathways winding through southern magnolias, a Hanok-style pavilion beside a jazz band's stage. Marcus, thriving in college now, walked Mia down the aisle. Seonu's grandmother sat in the front row beside Mia's mother, the two matriarchs bonding over their shared investment in this impossible union. Seonu wore a modern hanbok in deep blue. Mia wore a modified hanbok with kente cloth, woven into the design by a seamstress who understood both traditions. The vows were spoken in English and Korean. When Seonu slipped the ring on her finger, replacing the contract symbol with a real promise, his hands were steady, his eyes clear. I, Seonu Park, take you, Mia Johnson, as my wife. Not my contract wife. Not my strategic partner. My wife. My love. My equal. For as long as we both live. I, Mia Johnson, take you, Seonu Park, as my husband. The man who defended me when I was a stranger. Who chose me when he didn't have to? Who taught me that love isn't weakness, it's the bravest thing we can do? When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Seonu pulled her close and kissed her like he'd wanted to since soul without restraint, without fear, without anything but pure, honest love. The reception was a revelation. Members of Seonu's organization, dangerous men who commanded fear and respect, danced with neighborhood kids from Mia's community center. Business partners mingled with reformed gang members Seonu had hired for legitimate work. Two worlds, finding common ground. At one point, Seonu pulled Mia aside to a quiet corner. "I have something for you." He handed her a cocktail napkin. On it, written in both Korean and English in his precise handwriting, "Final contract between Park Seonu and Mia Johnson. Park, Article 7 is hereby permanently terminated. We agree to break the emotional attachment clause joyfully and with extreme prejudice every single day for the rest of our lives. Love is not weakness. Love is our strength. No signatures required. This contract is sealed by choice, not blood." Tears blurred her vision. "It's perfect. Sign it anyway," he said, handing her a pen. "So I know it is real." They signed together, their signatures overlapping. He folded it carefully and placed it in his jacket pocket, over his heart. "Binding for a lifetime," he murmured. "For a lifetime," she agreed. As the reception wound down, Seonu's second-in-command approached quietly. "Boss, sorry to interrupt, but there's something you should see." He handed Seonu a tablet. On the screen was an invitation, elaborate, formal, written in multiple languages. "The International Crime Syndicate requests the pleasure of your company. Mr. Park Seonu and Mrs. Mia Johnson Park, we have been following your innovative approach to partnership with great interest. A seat at our table awaits your response." Mia read over his shoulder. "Is that the most powerful crime organization in the world?" Seonu's expression was unreadable. "They have never invited a woman before, never recognized a partnership like ours. Is it an opportunity or a trap?" "Probably both." He looked at her. "What do you think?" "I think," Mia said slowly, "that we've survived everything else together. Maybe it's time to stop just surviving and start building something bigger." "Something bigger?" "We changed your organization. We changed how you do business. Maybe we can change more." She smiled. "Or maybe that's crazy." "With you," Seonu said, pulling her close, "crazy has worked out remarkably well." They danced under the stars, surrounded by people from both their worlds, proof that impossible things could become real, that love could be strength, that two desperate people who started with a blood contract could end with forever. The invitation could wait until after the honeymoon. For tonight, they were just Seonu and Mia, husband and wife, partners, equals, home. What began as, "Pretend to be my wife," ended with, "I choose you." If Mia and Seonu's story had you holding your breath, smash that subscribe button. Drop a comment. Would you have signed Article 7? Thank you for being here. See you next time.